Cole, in my opinion, it seemed like Kurt Angle was trying to get in the head of Brock Lesnar. I don't think it worked.
Well, last week on SmackDown, Kurt Angle got to the ribs. That Angle slammed through the steel chair. Remember, re-injured the ribs that Brock broke a couple of months back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, 3 days away from WrestleMania on pay-per-view, a joint production of SmackDown and Raw. Things really get kicking on Sunday Night Heat with the World Tag Team titles on the line. Chief Marley and Lance Storm versus RVD and Kane.
Oh yeah, RVD and Kane getting a golden opportunity at WrestleMania.
From SmackDown, the Cruiserweight Championship on the line, Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio.
They're getting a sensei of Manitou hold on to the Cruiserweight Championship when he faces the human highlight reel known as Rey Mysterio.
Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho.
After a 5-year absence, HBK returns to the scene of some of his greatest moments, WrestleMania.
The Undertaker and Nathan Jones to meet Big Show and A-Train.
The teacher and the student hooking up to take on a very, very large duo.
A triple threat match for the women's title. Trish Stratus, Victoria, and Jazz.
Victoria is going to defend her championship against the two top challengers from Raw.
A triple threat match for the WWE Tag Team titles. Benoit and Rhino, Team Angle, and Los Guerreros.
I can't wait for this one. The three best tag teams from right here on SmackDown collide at WrestleMania for the Tag Team Championship.
Triple H puts the world title on the line against Booker T.
The World Heavyweight Championship is on the line as Raw's most talked about match will be settled at the granddaddy of them all.
Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar for the WWE title.
The two greatest athletes to grace a WWE ring will face each other for the ultimate prize, the WWE Championship.
Stone Cold Steve Austin meets that man, The Rock.
At the single biggest event of the year, the two biggest superstars of all time collide one-on-one.
And it's 20 years in the making. McMahon, Hogan in a street fight.
Over 20 years of resentment, jealousy, and envy come to a head in front of 50,000 fans at WrestleMania.
It is now a street fight. If Hulk Hogan loses, he must retire, never wrestle again anywhere in the world.
And remember, Mr. McMahon, I'm telling you, he is loaded with aggressiveness. He's going to bring it to the...
Let's get into wrestling talk. It's been over an hour. We've been talking about Jay-Z and all these other things. Let's get into wrestling talk. I want to talk about as we go into WrestleMania 19, season 19 of WrestleMania. I want to talk about stuff in the Wrestling Observer that happened before WrestleMania, all these massive events. Are you ready, my friend?
Let's go.
January 27, 2003, in the newsletter, there was a lot of opposition to McMahon's decision to bring Hogan back after the two had a falling out over Hogan's refusal to come back and put Brock Lesnar over at Survivor Series 2002. Because he didn't put him over, Brock had to lose the title to Big Show. It had been clear that Hogan himself was angling to come back for the big Mania payoff, and the match with McMahon, with the odds had been seemingly lessened until the past week. This McMahon match with Hogan was supposed to happen at SummerSlam 2002.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't happen. A lot of disagreements. Hogan essentially not really feeling it anymore in terms of where the direction of his character was going. Mind you, this is like 6 months in his return. He won the WWE title a month.
Yeah, wasn't he always saying, "Oh, I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling hurt," or he's not feeling it? I think he'd always bring up like injuries.
He wasn't. He wasn't the direction. He wasn't the main focus. And why the fuck would you? Have you seen what we've crafted over the last 10 years? We're making bread, guy. We got Kurt Angle, Undertaker, Triple H, Chris Jericho, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brock Lesnar. Yes, I think it's not going to be about Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I think he just wouldn't. I just feel like when he's not the focal point, that's a problem. But one thing about Vince is that he's not going for none of that shit. So like Hogan had to eventually fall in line or get the fuck out.
February 3rd, 2003. According to this is all from Observer, by the way. According to an article by someone using the pseudonym Jake T. Icon, who claimed to have been an extra on the set of Hell Dorado. I think Hell Dorado becomes the Rundown.
Yes.
The two talked about his future and claimed that The Rock claimed that he would wrestle at No Way Out against Hogan and at WrestleMania against Goldberg and then retire from wrestling. He said it wasn't a retirement for good, but with so many movie projects, he wouldn't have time to do wrestling, but was planning on returning someday when he's not as hot of a commodity in Hollywood. When Johnson made his deal to return a few weeks ago, he said he had no plans to retire because he understood the value of being on the WWE television, which is syndicated around the world, and that presence helps his box office power. However, he would not commit to anything past the April pay-per-view, even before word got out of him doing a starring role in the Walking Tall remake that starts filming in May. So, The Rock, back for a short period of time, but still will not commit to a full-time schedule ever again. Nor does he. I mean, he never wrestles full-time ever again. The closest he's ever been, this is the last run that he's had, where he's wrestling. He's having matches against the Hurricane and Jeff Hardy and Goldberg and Stone Cold Steve Austin, wrestling in Battle Royals on Monday Night Raw. This is the last absolute run of The Rock until he pretty much becomes box office part-timer. We need him for the WrestleMania, and that's kind of where we're going with it.
I mean, what a run that it was. I mean, everyone remembers. If they don't remember 2001, 2002, it is kind of a blur because he's in and out so much. The last run that he has here, from 2002, mid 2002, all the way up to now, is really the one that people remember in terms of the 2000s. And I mean, you had the Rock concerts, you had the Hurricane stuff, you had all of that stuff going on, and I would say that he was getting his wins and he was winning probably a lot more than he probably ever did as a face, but he was still giving back to a lot of the younger talent and the talent that were going to be staying there. Look what he did with Brock. Look what he did with Brock. I mean, Brock destroyed him, and then he Brock became a star after that. You know what I mean? And that was his first big kind of event. Didn't we talk about that match?
Yes, we did. SummerSlam.
Yeah. Wow.
March 3rd, 2003. Paul Heyman is pulled from the SmackDown creative team. Boy, how things have not changed. The changes in creative is much more a complicated issue, with Heyman being removed from the SmackDown writing team, which will now be headed by David Lagana. Talks about a little bit about Lagana's background. Says wrestlers were officially told that Heyman is still on creative, but his role has been changed to consultant for both Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown, and that is not a demotion. Obviously, it is. Exactly what caused this was unclear, other than signs have been out that a change was going to happen for several weeks and perhaps longer. Some say that has been inevitable for some time. Both Heyman and Gewirtz were suspended 1 week from creative last month by Stephanie McMahon after an argument between the two got heated during a meeting at the company office, and both were said to be acting in an unprofessional manner. Do you remember that from the book? Did he talk about it in the book?
Gewirtz, yes, they do. In the Gewirtz book, they talk about the fight. It was more like a scuffle, but Brian also feels as though Heyman did it on purpose. He also talks about just their rivalry just in general is being very contentious, and that was really a Vince McMahon kind of created rivalry, right? Where he wanted them to be competitive. Exactly. And Heyman would give people, talking about him behind his back and all types of stuff. The book actually starts on him being taken to wrestler's court, and Kurt Angle and Edge and Christian and all of them are in it, and he's in court with Edge and Christian. They're all being tried because they believe, or Hardcore Holly believe, that
he should be WWE champion.
No, he believed that Edge and Christian were working with Brian to get over and to get a push, and they were leaving guys like him out. And it's just a fascinating story to open the book. I really enjoyed that book if you guys haven't read it yet.
Gewirtz's view more closely resembles to that of McMahon. Heyman's downfall as being an incredible manipulator, which at times serves him well, is that sometimes he manipulates himself into positions and it becomes hard to get out of. There's also frustration internally that at times Heyman is hard to get a hold of, particularly now that he's on the road. Heyman is said not to be good at dealing with decisions when his decisions get overruled. He also has a different philosophy of what wrestling is than Vince McMahon at the end of the day, even though he recognizes that in the end, the show is McMahon's. He also gets into frequent and more public political battles. So the tone of SmackDown shifts immensely once Heyman is gone. And honestly, there's a lot of stuff that ships going into WrestleMania 20, WrestleMania 19, and coming out of it. As we'll see in this. March 10th, Kurt Angle is injured. Angle, the most valuable full-time performer in the company, had an MRI on his neck on March 3rd, and the results have come in that he has severe neck damage. He'll become the 8th WWE wrestler over the past number of years to go under the surgery of Dr. Lloyd Youngblood. He does not. He gets surgery from another doctor that brings him back in 2 months.
Yeah, and therein lies the beginning of like really a lot of issues that will continue with Kurt for the rest of his career.
Absolutely. And this was supposed to sideline him for about a year, which would have been perfect. I mean, leaving out the WrestleMania thing, but I don't think we'll talk about Kurt in a little bit. Well, we talk about Kurt at the fucking end, but we'll talk about kind of like how he is. His symptoms, shooting pain down both of his arms, numbing in fingers, and burning sensation in his neck has gotten worse while on the South Africa tour this week. Edge is also going under neck surgery.
Did they go to South Africa anymore?
No.
They was going everywhere.
They was going fucking everywhere, bro. Australia, South Africa, you name it. Edge is undergoing neck surgery. Edge was originally supposed to be placed in where Rhino is on a WrestleMania card. Orton, Dave Batista, Bubba Ray tag match happened where all the guys got injured. As you can probably, I think it's in one of their documentaries.
Yeah.
Angle was rumored to actually being taken out of the WrestleMania match and going to be replaced with Chris Benoit. But ultimately they did not go with that decision. And you see it kind of played out with the WWE Championship match that they had between Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar on SmackDown, where Kurt Angle's brother, Eric Angle, eventually jumps in as the fake Angle. Angle comes in, rolls him up with a schoolboy, rolls him up with a small package, and then wins the match. And that's how they kind of get out of that little spot. And then on March 24th, Goldberg signs to WWE. And we're off to the races there. He officially signed.
Right before, and it's like, when is he going to show up? And it's like, nobody knows when he shows up. But I think his entrance into, would you say that's the beginning of like the post Raw after Mania surprises?
It depends if you count X-Pac as a surprise. If you count X-Pac as a surprise, if you count after WrestleMania 14, that new DX thing, if you count that as the beginning of it, but this was like massive. This was like way more bigger than that. Oh, great. Someone's at the door. I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Do you want to open up WrestleMania 19?
Yeah, go ahead. We can do it. WrestleMania 19 emanated from Seattle, Washington, and Safeco Field. Obviously, one of the biggest WrestleManias in that state. Record-breaking 54,000 fans, and they resulted in ticket earnings of $2.76 million. Now, when you think about it now, and of course we're taking inflation into account, that is actually like nothing like how much money they make here. And like I was just saying, Mills, I was talking about how much money they gross. They said 2 points.
I heard it all. Don't worry, you're in my ear.
Oh, it was 2.76 million. That's nothing compared to what they make now. Yeah, like they make so much more. And I don't know if it's ticket prices were lower then or what, but it was crazy. Like you had a bevy of musical guests, including Ashanti singing "America the Beautiful."
Ooh, I was about to bring that up.
Let's skip ahead of this, or
they cut it out? They cut it out.
They cut it out, right? So yeah, I was like, did I miss her being on it? And when I was doing my research, I was like, oh shit, like it wasn't. She's not in it at all. But I mean, when you think about it, this Mania is so important for a lot of reasons. Obviously, for the real coronation of Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, but also the final matches of Stone Cold Steve Austin. You had really the final kind of showdown of Vince McMahon and Hulk Hogan. For the time being, and you know, you had all types of.
It's the final WrestleMania that Hulk Hogan wrestles on. So yeah.
And again, I think it is because he's not back for 20.
No, yeah, he's not. No,
he's not back for 20. He's done after that because he would exit the company really shortly Well, no, not shortly after this. He exited the company later that year.
He's getting to get beat up by Jeff Jarrett, I think.
Yes. Yeah. He's like, you know what? I can steal some money from somebody else. But again, this is widely considered to a lot of people to be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, or if not the best WrestleMania of all time.
And they would not be wrong, because looking
No.
back at this, I mean, my favorite forever will have a place in my heart is WrestleMania 17 for various reasons. But I can't help to say I watched WrestleMania 19 and didn't think like, damn, this is like, there's not a bad fucking match on this card.
Absolutely.
Even the short ones are good.
Yeah.
Like, and it's a much more breezier watch than, I guess, because now I'm used to like these 5-hour fucking pay-per-views. But it feels like a breezier watch than anything. And maybe because they match it up. I mean, they cut out Ashanti singing God Bless America, but they definitely don't count out Limp Bizkit doing all his fucking hits.
They own that. I wonder what the usually I kind of could guess why they cut certain stuff out, but I don't really know why they would have cut Ashanti out, whether they couldn't get clearance. She might have still been with Murder Inc. at that time. They probably didn't want to clear her for the network. Who knows why they didn't want her in there?
Oh, that's true. Yes, from the Inc. No, it was probably the Inc. at this time.
Yeah. I because certainly the song isn't copyrighted because it's in other WrestleManias on the network. I've seen the America the Beautiful, so it's probably a appearance issue, and they probably didn't pay for her appearance to live in perpetuity.
Interesting. Okay, so we're going to Safeco Field, Washington, WrestleMania 19. Of course, first of all, the opening thing is fucking incredible. They do a great job at these opening bits for WrestleMania of getting you hype, and motherfuckers, Kurt Angle running up the steps, Brock Lesnar doing his thing while interpolating all these other various WrestleMania moments. It's incredible. Like, I have it on the background right now, and it's going wild. We kick off with a Cruiserweight Championship match between Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio. Great timing, this is Rey Mysterio's first WrestleMania, and we may be entering his last WrestleMania, to be honest with you.
We could be. It's so funny. This is his first WrestleMania, and it's crazy because he had just debuted after Mania last year, right? Like June or something. Yeah. So yeah, it's dope that he finally gets his moment here, and the crowd fucking loves him.
Hey, this is Matt Hardy's first single venture at WrestleMania. It's interesting. He's the last Hardy left at this point. Jeff Hardy's going through his various things, and I do believe he's released around this time.
Mm-hmm.
Or if not, he's sent to cut the drugs out or some shit like that.
Hey, it's a Mania tradition for him to either be gone or be released or go to rehab right before. So,
great match. Rey Mysterio's attire. What did you think? Because I was like, what the hell is this?
I didn't really know what it was. It was quite odd. I let me be clear. I ordered this, or not my parents ordered this WrestleMania when it happened. I will say that I have not watched it back since. I maybe watched it one time since. I may have literally, bro. I may have watched. Maybe I may have watched this 3. I've watched X7 definitely more times than I've watched this. And whenever people talk about 19, I'm like, it was good. But then I'll talk about this later. But the one match has kind of blemished it for me, and I feel like I've kind of come around on that match. But this is my first time watching it really as like an adult, just like analyzing it. So like I forgot this match was on the card, but I'll say that like they all worked fucking hard, and I think that like for the time they did a lot of shit.
Absolutely. After this great WrestleMania things, we were introduced to the Miller Lite catfight girls are here. Because we still old. I don't remember anything about the Miller. I was like, who are they? I kept in my brain. I was like, who are they?
It was a commercial series of these women, and like it was basically like duck season, rabbit season, but with humans, and they were just women fighting. Was it like this? This could never air today, ever.
No, I'm surprised it's still on the network. It's a multi-segment. We're gonna go through all the segments right now because we might as well get this thing over with. It's a multi-segment part where at some point one of the cat girls is like, "I think Vince McMahon is gonna win." Well, I think Hulk Hogan is
gonna win.
Hulk Hogan is like Vince McMahon. Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon. So they said, you know what? Let's settle it out by the ring. And they have this great, one thing I'll say about this WrestleMania. The little flatbed stage thing off to the right.
Perfect.
I like it.
Yeah.
I was like, what? They set up a bed there. They was like, oh, we're gonna have a pillow fight. They get out, then Tori Wilson shows up, and of course she got to tear her top off because that's what she does. Stacy Keibler shows up. She also tears her top off. They go wrestling coaches there for whatever reason, trying to comment it. He gets rolled up or something along those lines, and they win the match. And all the girls topless are holding up each other's hands as this big WrestleMania moment. And luckily, there's actually a women's match on this card, or else it would be
it would be a whole sausage fest.
Yeah. All right. So after after that whole sequence, we gotta rev it up because you know what time it is? It's Limp Bizkit time, baby.
Yes, sir.
We rolling, baby. How did you feel about this? WWE's favorite band in the world, Limp Bizkit.
In the whole wide world.
Hands down, hands up and hands down, break up. They had the little Limp Bizkit girls.
It was tired. It was like, we've been doing this dance for 300 shows at this point. Rolling came out in 2001. It is 2003, and you are still doing this song, my nigga. It is time to hang it up. And they're not fucking with crack addicts. I'm sorry. That doesn't fare much better.
Hey, man. I'll say this. Listen, I liked it. I hadn't heard Rolling live in a while. They had little breakdancing little crackers doing shit on the top of the stage and shit. And then eventually Undertaker rolls out. Has this great motorcycle moment in a very strange WrestleMania encounter. So it's Undertaker versus the Big Show and A-Train.
But there was supposed to be one more member of this whole thing, Nathan Jones.
Yes. Talk about Nathan Jones. What do you remember about Nathan Jones, if anything?
Nathan Jones, the Aussie guy who was in prison, and he had all of these vignettes about him getting out of prison, and he was coming in to break some faces. He had been in a couple action movies. I think he had been a stuntman or some type of martial artist, so he actually had some real credentials. He comes in and he fucking stinks like shit. He's terrible in the ring. I had the displeasure of watching a couple of his matches on SmackDown, and I said, this guy is ass. Like, he was absolutely terrible. But the thing is that just like a lot of the guys at that time, you see it with fucking Kozlov, you see it with fucking Heidenreich and a lot of other people. They had that look that Vince loved, but they fucking stunk like shit in the ring. Like, they were terrible. And so because he was so terrible, they had to find a way to get him out of the match. And they ended up beating him up before the show so that Undertaker could take this match. Yeah, on Sunday Night Heat in the bathroom. I would never put my face on the floor of that shower that he was in. He's fucking wilding unless he like wiped it down before he did it. They lay him out, and it ends up being a handicap match between Undertaker.
Probably ain't his first time, man. He the Colossus of Buggle Road, my guy. Come on.
Like,
he knows what them floors slipping like.
It's so funny, but it also probably saved Taker from actually losing the streak that year, because like it was like, okay, we got to just have Taker go over at this point because all the shit we put him through. Like, they put Taker more than anyone. You see a lot of these people complaining online about what they've been through or what they're going through in WWE and AEW and shit like that. Taker took everything and took it in stride, bro. He teamed with anyone, lost to anyone, bro, because he looked at it.
Until probably the day of WrestleMania, where he's like, I'm not doing this shit. Handicap me, have him come out. He does it. Well, the match is what it is. Big nigga, big meaty men doing big meaty things.
Yeah.
Abdominal stretches. First of all, Big Show doesn't look half bad here, but he still doesn't look great.
Big Show's not great for a long time. Okay. Like,
but I it's weird. I liked A-Train for various points. I don't know. He was just like, he looked big and burly and dangerous, even though he clearly was not. I mean, a year ago he was a hip hop hippo, so it really didn't matter what the fuck they did to him. I'm pretty sure it was Heyman that kind of like resurrected his career, named him A-Train instead of Albert, and kind of got that thing rolling before he goes off to Japan. But you know, Undertaker is getting beat up. Nathan Jones comes, kicks Big Show in the head at the aisle. Taker throws Train into Jones. Nathan Jones also kicks the A-Train. Apparently, referee let it go. He was like, I guess he was supposed to be in the match. I guess he made it after.
He gives him a kick that you could tell missed.
Yeah, it did. But guess what? That was his only spot. You better have been practicing that in the bathroom for 2 hours. Taker hits a tombstone on A-Train. Impressive as hell. But Taker looks great, by the way. I was like, oh my god.
Probably as healthy as, probably the healthiest he had been in a long time at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. He used to have a gut.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Eating good. Undertaker is now 11-0 at WrestleMania. So shout out to that.
Nathan Jones.
Boy, I tell you. Next matchup.
Do you want to talk about after this show?
Go ahead. What happens?
He's off TV for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And he comes back as the Colossus of Boggo Road. And he becomes Heyman's Heat guy. And he gets put on Brock Lesnar's heel Survivor Series team. And yes. He loses very quickly. And then he leaves the company in the December after that. He's only back on TV for like 2 months, and then he's gone.
Yeah, he quits. He says he doesn't want to do the travel of things anymore. And then he actually has quite a film career after this. I mean, after 2003, he's in Troy. Mm-hmm. He's in The Condemned. He's in Conan the Barbarian. He's in Mad Max Fury Road. Mm-hmm. Hobbs and Shaw.
Yep.
Kind of bring it full circle for him. I'm sure he's like, wow, I'm glad we both got out at the same time.
But before that, he was also in Scorpion King. He's in a Scorpion King movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's full circle right there. But yeah, he gets money. He really gets money. He's like a stuntman, like martial arts guy in these movies, and I think he does that well, where he doesn't have to actually like have that type of timing.
On his Wikipedia, it says television. SmackDown 10 episodes. I'm crying. Let's go. They show some highlights of Heat where RVD and Kane were wrestling. I don't even know if it was Storm and it was somebody. They wrestled. It was either Storm and Regal or the Dudley Boys, but either way, no. The Dudley Boys interfered, so Storm and Regal actually win the tag team championships from Kane and RVD.
Yes,
or retain, or something along those lines. I honestly, if it's on Heat, the thing about pre-shows and heats and kickoffs, you'll never be remembered on WrestleMania.
Yeah,
you'll never be remembered on WrestleMania. I don't care if you were there. We don't remember Ali versus Cedric Alexander for the Cruiserweight Championship at WrestleMania, and we never will. Women's title, triple threat, Victoria versus Jazz versus Trish Stratus. Boy, do you feel like they got to induct Jazz?
They better. They have to. If they inducted this year, that's great. But I think that when you look at what Jazz brought to this match, she made this match really watchable. And yeah. I think that the way that she worked, the way that it all came together in terms of like Jazz working heat on getting the heat on Trish and really working between the two women to make sure that she was in just active throughout the whole match. Like there were some really cool spots here. And I think that this match was better than it had any right to be. Like I think that still the handicap match to me is like the weakest match of the show. But this one to me for a women's match, I think it would have opened a lot of people's eyes. You know what I mean? In terms of how hard they could work.
I think they gave him. It's weird to say they gave him time because they still got 7 minutes, only 7 minutes.
Right.
But this match kind of got some time. I mean, it doesn't, because of the time that they have, it doesn't really like lend itself to all the theatrics. It kind of just gets started, starts kicking people and fucking throwing people and stuff like that. Jazz hitting power slams, double arm chicken wings, and all this other stuff. Victoria goes for a moonsault, misses. Steven Richards comes in the ring with a steel chair, hits it right in his. Shout out to Steven Richards. I mean, well, first of all, shout out to Steven Richards. He's going through it right now. I don't know if you've seen him. He needs money for medical bills, but he's been in the hospital for quite a bit. So
that sucks.
Yeah. So shout out to Steven Richards. Hope you get well. He has this WrestleMania moment. He takes the Stratisfaction amazingly. This man hit a bounce. He was like, I want Vince seeing this. Meanwhile, Vince is oiling up for his own match and shit, not even paying attention. It's like, get some oil on this shit. Trish hits the chick kick on Victoria, pins her 1, 2, 3, becomes women's champion. Really good match, man.
Real good. I'll say this: a lot of the undercard, I didn't go less than like 3 on a lot of these matches. Like they're really solid matches on this, and the women's match to be on a Mania card and them to not be like they're not the bathroom match this year.
Yeah,
like they're not. Because it's just too big. There are too many big matches on this. So for them to be in that spot, they were in a hot spot. They were early in the show. People were still hot. They were hot for this match. Like everything like meant something here. Like everything was monumental here, and the crowd was the crowd was into a lot of shit.
Safeco was going off.
They sounded way louder than 54,000 at times during the show. Like they really did.
Absolutely. After this, The Rock is interviewed by Coach. Said doesn't care how many people boo him. He says he is here for one reason and one reason only, and that's to beat that bald candy ass at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. He says he may have, he learned in Hollywood that Act 1 and Act 2 don't matter as much as Act 3. And he was kind of giving off ideas that he knew what was going on too. Yeah. I think he knew. Because it feels like there are very few people who knew, it feels like, but I feel like he generally was like, yo, this is my last hurrah. And he was probably, he had to be told to finish in a match, so I assume he knew what was going down. But he says once he's done, he'll have done it all. And that ends up being like the impetus for his promo on the Raw afterwards.
Yeah, the next night, yep.
When it comes in. SmackDown Tag Team titles. Team Angle versus Los Guerreros versus Chris Benoit and Rhino. I'll be honest, this was a good match, but I really didn't care.
It was good. The finish was set up to make you believe that Team Kurt Angle or Team Angle was going to take all the gold. So that's really the big major reason for this match being here. I thought the Rhino spears at the end were just fucking incredible. Everyone took these spears like they were being murdered. I really enjoyed this match a lot. Again, like they took something that was, and again, it felt kind of weird because if you remember at that time, SmackDown tag team matches were getting like 15 minutes. Like they were getting multiple segments on SmackDown with these matches. This is shorter than like your average SmackDown match. So that's why I was a little bit like, it's a little bit like not disappointing, but a little bit less than what I expected from these three, especially just in terms of the amount of time that they got, which is like 9-10 minutes. But I think everyone had a chance to shine here, and Team Angle picks up the victory.
I think it's an interesting spot for Chris Benoit, who's always featured prominent on the card to be in. But this is what happens. You have various WrestleManias where you're not. WrestleMania 20, he goes on to win the World Championship. You know what I'm saying? WrestleMania 18, he wasn't even fucking there. He had a broken fucking neck. So, it's an interesting career arc for one Benoit. Next up, we get
into the meat and potatoes of the card now.
Oh, yeah, because we get an incredible video package, first of all, for Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. And I'm like, damn, so much. They hit Stacy with chairs and shit.
When I grew up, they used to call me the young Shawn Michaels. Like, who, nigga, who?
Since when? It's weird. You see so much of like the current regime of AEW in this young Chris Jericho, right? Like you kind of see the fire and the brashness and the attitude and all the other stuff like they had for him, and
not the gut.
Right. It's interesting considering Chris Jericho is kind of like placing the company. I'm not sure if he was gaining a lot of favor at this time, especially post his undisputed title run era, because he's working with. I mean, this is Shawn Michaels' return to WrestleMania, and he's working with Chris Jericho. That's a big fucking deal.
And again, for like work rate heads, this was your Mania. For work rate heads, you had one spectacle match that was Vince and Hogan. The rest of it was like pure work rate, like working guys for the rest of the show. They've never done this. Well, I think the closest they've gotten to this, and I said this to you last night, Mills, is 38, is last year's Mania, night one, where they was all workers.
Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. My hot take is, I think before watching it this time, a lot of people was like, this is like a 5-star match. And I was like, I don't think I'd call it 5 stars. I don't even think personally, for me, it wasn't the best match on the card.
No.
To me. But it was really, really good. And it's a really great technical wrestling match of these two. Even Chris Jericho as a heel, he's trying to edge to be the better performer than Shawn Michaels in this instance, but you can't outperform the showstopper. And they have these various instances. I mean, there's these great roll-ups, these fucking elbow drops, the backdrop off the top rope that turns into the crossbody. I was like, oh, I'd never seen that before as a kid. It was so much going back and forth. The Walls of Jericho counter, super kick counter.
He puts him in the Walls of Jericho so many times during this match. Yeah. He does it on the outside. He does it like everywhere that you could think to do the Walls of Jericho. I thought their match had I thought I had fucked the whole shit, and it rewound because he was in another Walls of Jericho out off the ropes again. But I think that selling the back, because Michaels had that surgically repaired back that they kept going to, and he was doing the backbreakers, the flip up backbreakers, the power bombs, all that stuff to work on his back was just such great psychology. And Michaels sells so much. I don't think he had the advantage in this match for more than like 2 minutes at a time.
Yeah, he doesn't at all. And I think I don't know if he let Chris Jericho, but there's a lot of pacing of just Chris Jericho through this match. But it's Shawn Michaels. Like, this is Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels' return at SummerSlam 2002 is one of the greatest thing ever. But I don't think we saw the caliber of match that we see here of him having those matches back in the 90s as we did here. Matches with Bret Hart. I mean, not like the big stupid ones or like Psycho Sid and shit, but like with Bret Hart and like Stone Cold Steve Austin and various other people. Like, this is a really good match. Yeah. Is it my favorite match on the card? No, but it's a really, really good match. And I think Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania return, I even think the post-match stuff was great. Like Shawn Michaels eventually, what is it? It's the cradle that wins, right? Not the super kick.
The cradle wins. The cradle wins and not the super kick, because it's to show that they're like evenly matched. It's not to, and he does hit the super kick on him, but it doesn't get the 3 count. He kicks out of it, but it's to show that again he can't take him out with the walls multiple times, and Shawn can't take him out with the super kick. So how can he beat him? He has to outsmart him. But it's like they're so even that Shawn has to get desperate in order to win the match. And again, there's no better storyteller in wrestling than Shawn Michaels. But if there was a top 5, Jericho's definitely in that spot too.
Absolutely. So after the match, it's a great match. People are applauding. People are standing. It gets a great reaction from the crowd. Gets a great reaction from JR and King, to be honest with you. Shawn Michaels gets up. Chris Jericho comes in to embrace him, and they go hug. And you see this like outpour of emotional thing. And then Jericho, of course, kicks him in the groin, kicks him right in the dick. And
can't trust Jericho, bro.
The feud continues after this. They have a rematch on Raw, where I believe Chris Jericho does win, and I don't know if the feud continues after that. I think they shift him over because they would have that weird they would be part of that weird 6-person tag at Backlash
next month. Terrible pay-per-view.
The worst. I feel like this could have led up to a Hell in a Cell match for sure. Instead of the Hell in a Cell that we got this year.
Well, I think we would get a better version of this feud that did, to me, have a 5-star match in a couple years. So we get a better version of this soon. So for people that were kind of disappointed at how it ended, they will come back around and do it the right way in a couple years after this.
Absolutely. Goldberg video promo says he's coming to Backlash. Crowd starts chanting Goldberg.
Fire. But again, did you know who he was going to face at that point? Were you like, no? Nope. Well, I mean, because I didn't read that. You see that? I had no clue who was gonna go after. That's why the moment that end of Raw became so much bigger than. That's one of my favorite endings of Raw ever.
Let's get into one of the most infamous matches on this card. A match that the internet won't let us forget. I'll say it's infamous. I had some words about it a couple weeks ago when it was the anniversary of it, and I think I came at it. I feel like it's the most poignant argument that probably anyone has put together on this, because everyone just harps on like, wow, this match is racist as fuck. Like, not to say that there's parts of it that linger on that.
The match is good. The socio-political stuff that's happening outside of the match is very bad, and we can talk about that.
How did you feel about them highlighting in the video package? It's very much highlight this man used to be a criminal and now he's reformed, and now he's going up to face the world champion Triple H. I feel like it's a good story in a sense, but it's also like focusing on, like, they make a heavy thing to focus on his criminal past. Even in the
King was out of control, absolutely unhinged. I think Lawler was the most annoying part of this match. I feel like if you don't have Lawler harping every 2 seconds about he was giving birth in a pool hall, call the police 3 or 4 times, all of this stuff, like they made a concerted effort and a concerted point to make Triple H go out there and say, I am not doing this because of racial. I'm doing this because of the situation. Like, he had a promo where he says, there's nothing racial about this. I think that them continuing after
that part isn't remembered as much as that with your nappy head and you're doing your dances.
Exactly. And he goes out to do that. And I was like, that is y'all's moment to fix this. And I'm not absolving Triple H or anyone for doing that. Like, that is your moment to go away from it and make it pure skill. But what they continue to do was to continue to make it about his hair, all of this other stuff that had nothing to do with the actual match. And that's what makes it worse. And that's why
the jail, the grew up as, one of like many kids without a father, all this other stuff like that. And it's like, I think from a standpoint, and what's so weird about it is, like, when you have white men telling this story, these are the kind of things that they want to harp on because they feel like this is more admirable, that this black man worked through all these different things and now he's on the level of this white man, when he's clearly not on the fucking same level. You can see from this match he's on the same level. But it's like, when you don't have diversity back there, it's like they're telling the story. And I mean, shout out to Booker for taking it, but I also think Booker, my argument with all of this was that at this point, Booker knows no better.
Right.
He's had to work in a white male dominated industry and play that game and play favor to them for quite some time. So he doesn't really know better other than, I'm going to just do what I got to do because this is what I'm paid to do. All the other stuff. And he still defends it to this day, or doesn't think it to this day. And I think what people majority want is them to just kind of like say like that this was wrong. And I think in any situation, we still haven't heard that from any parties involved. Maybe JR, but JR is just a part of this as anybody else, to be honest with you.
Well, JR, honestly, like, he got annoyed with King during this match. He got really annoyed with King. And I feel like they probably had a conversation after this, because like King calmed the fuck down right after the match. He didn't stop when JR said, like, JR damn near said, God damn it, shut up. Like, he almost just like, shut up, trying to talk about the match. And King's being fucking annoying. But it's like, it got too much. Like, let's just wide open. The match is real good. The match is super solid. It is a Triple H match. Booker T gets a lot more than I remembered him getting. He made he was on Triple H's ass. Like, but it was a basic Triple H at that time match where Rick interferes, Triple H gets the win. I think that everything outside of this match created such a toxic atmosphere for this match to not be looked at the same way. No one looks at the rest of this match. They look at the finish, and the finish is egregious. But at the same time, when you think about it, Meals, the pedigree was putting a lot of people out, and that's really what it was. But I did count 20 seconds from the pedigree to the pin, and that is pretty egregious, especially for a match of this type. I was like, yo, you could have kicked out at that point. We just saw Jericho kick out of a super kick less time than that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Notable things about this match: Triple H wearing purple tights. Something that you'll never see. I think it happens. He wears 2 different colors on WrestleMania, and one's purple, and one is white, and the rest of it's just black. The Indian Deathlock. What a racially powered move.
Lord, terrible name, by the way, for that move. But
JR was losing his shit.
JR could not get enough of that Indian Deathlock.
You haven't seen that in years. Wait a minute. I'm expertly applied. Oh my God.
And that move would end up becoming like a Triple H staple for quite some time after that.
Yeah. I think the last time I remember him using it for sure was like against Cena. No, he used it against Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, he used it against Daniel Bryan. He did a lot of shit against Daniel Bryan that he don't normally do, or he didn't usually do at that time.
But yeah, scissors kick, but Booker's legs is apparently broken. So he can't recover fucking fast enough. So Triple H kicks out of the scissors kick. But his legs aren't broken enough for him to go to the top rope and do the Harlem Hangover.
It was Mania. It was Mania. Let him bust out his moves.
Fell right on Triple H's head.
He's like, I'm losing anyway. Fuck it.
Yeah. Flair puts Triple H's leg on the bottom rope. He kicks out at 2. Booker T into the ropes. He collapses. Triple H hits the pedigree. Hunter crawls over to Booker. It takes him, like you legitimately said, like 20 fucking seconds to crawl over and gets the 3. One thing you also note
from pedigree to pin.
One thing you also noted about this match is how weird Nick Patrick is in WWE.
He don't look right. He don't look comfortable.
He on edge. They probably eat his food and shit. Probably make him carry his bags and shit.
He don't look right. He looked like he's like, if I make one, like you said, if I make one mistake, I'm out of here and I need this money. And sure enough, he's doing what he got to do.
Yeah. Match is over. It is what it is. Just another WCW guy.
Does it make you mad? Still?
Me, no. But I do wish that people took more accountability in terms of like what actually happened in this match and stuff. Because like Bruce Pritchard saying like there's nothing racial about this match is just like, bruh. It's like disgusting. As someone who came up with part of this thing and vehemently denies that racial was any. It's not that it's necessarily, even if it wasn't the motivation for this feud, you incorporated it, and it was in poor taste.
Yeah.
So him never detracting from it, and then also Booker kind of like it's cool, man. I'm good with the finish. You know what I'm saying? I'm still. I won the world championship like 3 years after this, so it is what it is. Doesn't really make it any better, so I get why people think, but I'm not really mad about this.
Yeah, I think people lump this in with the baggage. The baggage of this match is lumped in with too many things, I think, that have nothing to do with what this match was.
Triple H's power ring, backstage powers.
Yeah, like, well, past this, I think Kofi losing to Brock gets lumped into this. I think that Bianca's 26 seconds gets unfairly linked into this. Big E losing the title gets unfairly linked into this. Those are not examples of black people being put down and berated the way Booker T was. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, those are not the same instances. You can't compare those. They're not alikes. They're not one of one. You can only compare Booker's situation to this situation only because it's the only time, if I can remember, that they've ever done anything like this. And that's why it's tasteless and it's hard to watch and it's hard to listen to. It's even harder listening to King's rapist ass say any of this shit, knowing that he likes fucking with young girls. They're 16 years old and shit. I don't give a fuck. I know he just had a stroke. I don't give a shit. That's where it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you cannot conflate this with these situations. One that was to get the title onto somebody else because they had the bigger idea and it had nothing to do against Kofi. The other, which had to do with a situation that, again, no one likes to talk about, where of which something had to make it. They had to call an audible. You know, like, there are instances and there are ways you could probably make arguments that black talent gets put down. But this is a special case where they were fucking out of line and they've still never said sorry about it. These other people got theirs later. Yeah. They got theirs. Booker, to me, never in the eyes of a lot of people, never recovered from this.
No, absolutely not. So after this, we get a video package about WrestleMania 20. It's coming to Madison Square Garden. Boy, is that a hustling backwards from 50,000 people to like 19,000. It's great to have them at Madison Square Garden. Don't get me wrong, but boy, is it no way you could have broken even with that shit. Video package for Vince McMahon versus Hulk Hogan. Who truly is the mastermind behind WWE? Was it Vince McMahon who created Hulkamania, or was it Hulk Hogan who created Hulkamania?
First of all, unhinged argument. I'm just like, what? That's why I'm like, y'all old niggas love to bring in that type of shit that's gonna make y'all mad later when y'all do shit like this. Like, the fans don't care about who created Hulkamania. Why should Hulk Hogan, the babyface, care?
Hey man, you testified against me in federal court. That
shit was with the footage was like, all right, y'all doing too much. Like him walking out the court, I'm like, yeah, these niggas is wild.
Hey man, he came for blood. I hate on this. I hate we never get the Jimi Hendrix Hulk Hogan thing.
What did you think about the makeup? What do you think about the makeup theme they had for this?
I don't know. It's not even like cool. I don't know. I still got the original theme in my head, but nah, it's trash.
You see Hogan do this, and it's like, no, that's not it. He don't got the song.
I don't know.
It's on the DVDs. If you can find the DVDs, it's still on the DVDs.
Okay. All right. We'll rock it on the DVD. Vince McMahon comes out and the juice is loose. Is all I have to say about that. My man is extra jacked. He is on another level. Like, he came in trying to look like the devil and the final boss all in one. And guess what about this match?
What?
This match is fantastic.
It's good. I keep seeing all, like, I was looking at some reviews of this match. They're giving it 2 stars and shit like that. I'm like, bro, what? This is sports entertainment at all costs. Like, yes, it's sloppy, but it looks like a fight. It looks like a fight. Like, it really does look like they was throwing fucking hands more than a lot of the shit that they was doing on this card. Not to say that it's not good, but it's like there was no mat wrestling. It's just straight put them shits up, and I thought that it succeeded in that. And I mean, you could just call it, like, I did not expect Hogan to take all of the shit that he took in this match, and he did it with a smile.
There was no interference, you know what I'm saying? There's no, like, Vince McMahon uses, like, evil goons to get his side of the things. Like, at some point, Vince McMahon is beating this man's ass. Yeah. Like, lead pipe to the head, blood everywhere. Leg drop off the ladder through the table. What else happened in this match? Fucking Hugo taking the Spanish announcer. What was that about?
That was fire. I was like, why is Hugo taking, well, first of all, Mills, unprotected headshots with the chairs? Not cool.
He doing it for the biz.
Not cool. Unprotected chair shots. Not cool. Not
That
cool
sounded
at
like
all.
baked potato that had ketchup all over it. It was
He looked crazy, and then they're just Vince is bleeding buckets. I think he bladed too hard, but
yeah. But
Hogan's
it was
bleeding.
part of the story. He probably rubbed that shit all over his face when he reached under the ring too. You probably
I'm like, how the fuck is it not in your eyes? That was my question. But I thought that again.
He does the moment where he comes up under.
He's like, classic fucking set. Listen, man, yo, say what you will, man.
Only him and Stephanie get it.
Yeah, that understand. Like, say what you will. Like, he's a fucking worker. That leg drop off the top. He took that. He ate that shit. He was not afraid to do that off the ladder. Like, this is a wild nigga, bro. Like, he does this. He milks the ear thing for all of his fucking worth. I say this is one of the greatest heels of all time, in ring and out ring. Let's just be clear. But Piper comes out with the pipe.
What was that about? I'm still confused.
It's playing into Piper hating Hogan from the moment he, you know what I'm saying? These two had their feud, but also he hates Vince too. And that was him getting his shot in. And it was just the crowd fucking went crazy at that part because again, the callbacks to so many things, and that being the ultimate callback. I wouldn't call Piper Hogan's ultimate rival, but I would say that he's one of his best rivals in his career. And then Piper and Vince's falling out had a lot of story to it too. I thought it was magnificent.
It was amazing. Eventually Hogan kicks out the pipe shit. He gets piped in the head, kicks out of it, hulks up. Eventually, gets his win back, hits Vince McMahon with an unprecedented 3 leg drops in a row. Boy, that man needed hip surgery after that shit. I know he did.
Bro, his ass was stinging, bro. He was like, why, bro? Like, there was 2 moments of pain in this show. That's the first moment of pain that I would see.
Hits him with 3 leg drops, pins him. He wins the match. After the match, Shane McMahon walks out. I believe this was like the first time we're seeing Shane McMahon since. I mean, he was teased for GM earlier this year a little bit, but this is like really the first time since Survivor Series 2001.
Yeah.
And he comes out. Hogan invites him to the ring. As Vince McMahon is leaving, fuck you guys. Fuck you forever.
But what did the same thing lead to? I forget. Nothing, right?
Shane didn't lead to shit. No.
Yeah, he didn't lead to anything.
Yeah, doesn't lead to anything until he doesn't get involved again until Shawn Michaels WrestleMania. Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I thought it was odd to me that he came out. I couldn't remember if Shane had anything to do with it, but I do know that Vince would align with. We'll talk about it later. But what did you think was better, this or Shawn and Vince? That was a Mania though. What was the other Vince match that happens 2 years after this?
No, Shawn and Vince happens.
Shawn and Vince. It's 3 years after, right?
Shawn and Vince. Yeah, it happens at 22. I haven't seen Shawn and Vince in a long ass time. I remember all the crazy shit, like the Spirit Squad getting involved.
Yeah.
The massive elbow drop through the table. I don't know. I like this.
Shawn and Vince. I think Shawn and Vince is better.
I feel like this was playing. He was in his bag with this one. I don't know, but I gotta go back and see the Shane and Vince one too. But he was in his bag with this one. Next match. Well, first of all, Limp Bizkit comes out and performs Crack Addict. I'm a crack addict.
Yeah.
Next matchup. Next main event, The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, 3rd time at WrestleMania. As we know, this ends up being Stone Cold Steve Austin's final official match in WWE. The story behind this is crazy. Like, it really, really is. It's Stone Cold walks out WWE last year. They eventually make amends with Vince McMahon. He's scheduled to come back. He comes back at No Way Out to one of the biggest pops you've ever heard in your fucking life. Beats up Eric Bischoff. Then he's on his way to have this match with The Rock. But along the way, he's discovering from years and years of just wrestling and stuff, even on the bad neck that he's always had, that bag stack of dimes that he's always had, his body is breaking down in the worst way possible, like the worst way. And this is, I believe, his only official match since returning since the walkout. He would have a medical episode, as I would like. That's what I call it for old people. A medical episode the night before where he was in the hospital. They all make the decision that this is probably going to be his last time in the ring. I think he's perfectly fine with it. This is a great stage to kind of go out on. And yeah, he's wrestling, and you look at him and knowing everything you know, and it's like, damn, this brother's in pain.
Yeah, I mean, I said this to you too. Like, there's a real dark cloud over this match. It feels really somber watching it back when you know. When I was a kid, I was in awe that Austin lost this match. I was like, I wasn't a kid, I was 16. When I was a teenager, I was in awe. I was like, I can't believe he fucking lost this match. But I didn't understand, you know what I'm saying, the machinations of what was going on in the backstage. But I tried to look at this through a different lens. Like I've gone on record with Meals and said that I didn't like this match. Like this was my skip on the show, because I'm such a Stone Cold mark. I was like, I can't see him go out like this, and he lost in his last match, and like it just didn't feel like the same. You know what I mean? And obviously he wasn't moving the same way. The Rock is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here.
Rock is very spry. In fact,
yeah, he's been on sets eating salads and chicken and shit like that. Like
Hollywood water, baby.
Yeah, he's drinking Voss water. Like he's very like energetic in this match. And Austin, he just looks tired, bro. Like he looks really tired, and it's tough to look at him like this. Like he physically, he looks okay, but as the match goes on, he's changing colors like he's a fucking troll. Like he's from red to blue to purple. Like he's all over the place.
There's a lot of theatrics in this match. Rock throwing on the jacket, blue fez, stunners, and stuff like that. But it ends up being, first of all, he hits the people elbow, and Austin sells it crazy. He sells it like his ribs has been broken and shattered in half.
Was it selling or was it for real?
But Austin eventually falls to not one, not two, but three painful looking rock bottoms. And The Rock finally beats Austin at WrestleMania. I think it's a great story that they told, that Austin usually doesn't lose. And in a sense, like even still, in Austin fashion, he loses, but his music is still the one playing at the end. You know
but it was poetic. It was poetic because it took 3 to take him out. 3 matches, 3 rock bottoms. He looked like those rock bottoms. Yeah, they share a moment. I don't think that did anyone, and you guys can answer this too. Did anybody, as a child, as a teenager, or the first time you saw this match, did anyone notice? Did anyone notice that Rock was talking to him? Did anyone think it was weird? Did anyone think it was odd? Because Rock is smart. He turns away from hard camera to say stuff to him. So he's facing away from where the camera is. You only get the like at the end, and he sees the cameras on him. Then he goes to go like, you know what I'm saying, go talk to all his people, comes back into the ring, says thank you again, pats him on his chest, or I guess I think the last time he said I love you or something like that, and that's when he said Austin said I love you.
And he heads up the ramp because he leaves the ring to Austin.
Yeah. And it's Austin doesn't leave his boots there, but he does salute everyone and he's on his way. JR's call here at the end when Austin's walking out is one of the greatest calls. I do selfishly feel like I wish JR was there last year to give one more great call for Austin's return.
Yeah,
that would have been something else. That would have been really incredible for JR to have been there, for him to return, like a moment between those two. Obviously that can't be, but I hope that in the future, if stars align and Austin's able to do one more, that we can do that.
Absolutely. It ends. It's great. Austin's retired after this. He's fucked up. But speaking of people who are fucked up, let's get to the main event.
They're both fucked up by the end of this.
Kurt Angle is going into this match with a broken freaking neck. And it kind of warrants to the drive of Kurt Angle that has always been his greatest strength, but also his greatest weakness. Something that's always held him back, because it's his drive that has him work through in injuries, and it's his drive that, I mean, the way he walks right now is incredibly funny. But I'd say that's for his drive. He didn't want to give up the WrestleMania main event. Could he have I broke my neck, I don't really want to do this? Yeah. But he was like, stick a needle in me and let's get through this match itself. And I think he earned a lot of respect this night from people backstage for putting him on this match, because before he has that neck injury, he is legitimately, I mean, that 2001 through 2003 run is incredible. And I think 2003, he has this amazing match with Chris Benoit at the Royal Rumble, and he is a wrestling machine. He is good.
But he's also pushing his body far beyond the means of what his body can do anymore, because he was doing this every night, and that's the problem. And that would end up being the problem.
Brock Lesnar debuted just a year before this. Incredible run to survive SummerSlam. Loses it at Survivor Series. Kurt Angle gets the WWE Championship, and now it's about Brock Lesnar's run towards getting his WWE Championship back, which in all means, I mean, they gave him the works. Royal Rumble win, beating up Big Show,
it was
slapping
bad.
around.
What do you think was the better run? What do you think was the better run, the 2002 or 2003 run?
The 2002 or 2003?
Yeah, for Brock, the run to the title.
2002 was pretty fire. 2002 was like an anomaly.
This 2003 to me, I don't think the build to this was as good. Brock turns heel again pretty fast after this is over. He's heel by SummerSlam.
I think he's always had a natural. He's never been not as comfortable as he is now, but he definitely wasn't comfortable then being on his own, especially when Heyman turns on him. He doesn't have that mouthpiece, and he's got to kind of articulate and be his own mouthpiece and have his own charisma and stuff like that. And I never felt like he got very into that. And I never felt he was very good at it, especially at this point. But it's always been his natural ability and his raw strength and all that stuff that's kind of carried him.
Right.
This match happens. It's a good match.
It is a good match. It's a great match. I've seen people go 5 on it. I won't argue if you go 5 on this match. I won't argue if you go 5. I won't argue if you go 5 on either. I mean, there's 3 matches you could realistically go 5 on.
Right. What's crazy is this match probably could have been better.
Yeah.
If his neck wasn't broken, it probably could have been better.
There was a lot of mat wrestling here, and if you're into that, you got that. There's a lot of pro wrestling in here, and for better or fucking for worse, if you see what Brock was trying to do.
Taz and Cole calling the main event of WrestleMania.
I mean, Taz has the best call of the night when he calls it. He says this is the greatest WrestleMania probably ever, and he got to call it. And I think that's a good tip on his hat. I think that as far in terms of this match, we had already done so much finisher spam on this show that to me it kind of lost it when we were doing all of these ankle locks and we were doing all of these F5s. They should have left it to this match, because I feel like Angle kicking out of the F5 is a pretty fucking big moment, Mills. You know what I mean? Like, no one really had done that at that point. And Angle did it. but it was softened by the blow of Austin kicking out of 2 fucking rock bottoms. So it's like at that point, which is the stronger finisher here?
Right. He kicks out of 2 F5s, which prompts Lesnar to go up to the top rope and make a daring decision that we've since learned was Kurt Angle's idea.
Yeah. Kurt Angle said that he told Brock, go ahead and go do it. He said he had seen Brock do the shooting star press before in OVW to win matches. And he said, go ahead, go do it. And in Brock's book, he says he goes up. I think Brock says he see the lights, he saw the crowd, he saw Kurt singlet, which meant that he knew that he did it. But I guess he slipped on the wet ropes. I mean, it's a 4-hour show. Those ropes are probably drenched in sweat.
Man, Kurt Angle's pretty fucking far. I was like, nigga, you would have never reached.
I said that too, right? And I was like, well, maybe he could just do it, because I think Kurt says on the podcast with what's his name, Conrad, that he had seen him do it that far before. So that's why he had pushed him like, okay, go ahead and do it. But even I was like, why didn't you, watching it back, I'm like, why didn't you just pull him towards you? Well, he was probably out of it already on adrenaline, and these motherfuckers were just wrestling so fucking hard. This is a hard-hitting match too. You could tell they weren't like holding their holds away. Like they were actually holding each other tight and like doing all these moves. Yeah. Angle got Brock up for a fucking flipping belly to belly overhead throw. Brock does a fucking flip. There's a lot of shit going on here. And then he does the shooting star press, lands neck like first onto the mat, and Kurt's kind of side.
He lands damn near on his head, and all the weight comes down on his head.
Yeah,
like really the ending blow. And he talks about it in the Mania of the Mania of WrestleMania documentary, and he's like, yeah, I just felt my entire head and neck get warm, really, really warm. And he was out of it. Kurt recalls, he's like, I'm telling him, like, yo, Brock, get up. And he's like, and he's like, luckily, this man is a professional. Puts his body on. His body is like natural reaction is to hit an F5 and go for the cover. And Brock Lesnar,
he's spinning him for the F5, that third one, for like 10 seconds, because I think he's like trying to get ready to throw him over his head, because he's gassed, he's fucked up. And he like you said, he finishes him. I think Kurt goes for the pin, because he's like, Brock, you got to kick out of this pin, because he's like, I think he says, I don't want this title no more. Like I don't want this shit no more after this. He finishes him with the F5. Then they're both down. Brock is in the corner like
he is done. Like Mike Chiodo is like, yo,
you got to get up.
You look at the end of it, it's like nobody's home. Nobody
he's got blood coming out of his nose. That's how fucked he is after that landing. Kurt says that Brock was supposed to pick up Kurt, and they were supposed to hug after this, and they were supposed to be friends. Yeah. But Kurt comes over to him, it picks him up, and they shake hands. Brock says in his book he didn't suffer any major injuries after that. He did have a concussion though, and that's the extent of the injuries that he got from that.
Absolutely, but you know what? They crowned him. Lesnar was off a few weeks after that. Kurt Angle was off a few months after that. But they have the WrestleMania. Honestly, one of the best WrestleManias ever. I mean, this is really, really fucking good.
I'll be controversial and say this is the number one. And I'll say that I really loved last year's night one.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's this in night one last year, 38 night one are some of the best to me.
So quick thing, observer afterwards, observer post thing. Let's see. It says, I'm trying to see before the fans. This probably ranks 2. The most important factor is not an injury situation. TNN and UPN were told months ago about the impending switch of Austin and Rock. The Austin switch ended up having to be delayed when Brock Lesnar deal wasn't made in time to get him for the match at WrestleMania. Once Rock and Austin became a match, they both had to be on the same show. So I believe either Rock was supposed to be on SmackDown or Austin was supposed to be on SmackDown, but it's clear they weren't supposed to be on the same shows. It appears that Austin will remain on Raw either as a fired employee who continually harasses Bischoff in some form, or be put in a position to be where he more legitimately threatens Bischoff. Angle finds out about this new form of surgery by Dr. J. Dongjo, professor of neurosurgery at the PA hospital. Says he wouldn't need a spinal fusion surgery and recommended against it, claiming such surgery in the long run makes one more susceptible to future injuries of other body parts. He told Angle about it, pioneering a new form of surgery where he instead fuses the vertebrae, as he's done on a lot of WWE superstars as late. He would go into the neck, chip off the bone spurs that are pressing the spinal cord to cause weakness and reconstruct them instead from bones in the hip. So Dr. Youngblood was out of some money after that shit.
I think he should have went to Dr. Youngblood. I think that ended up, it may have added some time, but not that much time.
Yeah. Goldberg debuts the night after WrestleMania. Massive moment. Spears The Rock. We're off to the races with The Rock versus Goldberg for Backlash. Big surprise was a cameo by Roddy Piper. The funny thing is that Piper had told his friends for weeks that he had an offer to do Mania, but it never got reported because no one knew whether to take him seriously. But he'll be doing Piper Pit segments recurringly on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm. He was working exclusively with Brian Gewirtz at that time. Gewirtz talks about this in his book. He talks about what a crazy moment that was for him, and he got to work with Piper. And there was a story where they had told Piper, please do not cuss on a segment that they were doing, and Piper said something like bullshit or something like that, and he had to admonish Roddy Piper for that. And he always remembers like, hey, I used to look up to this man. Now I have to tell him that, he was in trouble, and that was a big moment for Gewirtz. Really good moment between Piper and Brian.
The show opened with John Cena's rap, which was bumped from the pay-per-view to Monday Night Heat because all of the famous rapper things fell through. As we know, it was originally supposed to be Fabulous.
He had the Fabulous with the mini-me Dr. Evil thing, and I remember that opening and pretty embarrassing, but the rap was good.
Absolutely. You know what? Let's leave it there. So this is the final episode of the Draft Diaries, and I say this because we'll be starting a new monthly recurring series surrounded by the diaries, so we can float around to different years. So instead of going through 2003 and trying to figure out all the rest of the stuff to be going up in 2003, we'll be jumping around a couple years. They jumped to 99, maybe 97, 2008, 2014. We'll be able to follow all the trends and all this stuff for years and years to come. So thank you guys for tuning in to the final episode of the Draft Diaries. Thank you, Justin. Will no doubt be on future episodes of this shit and any iteration that it is.
If it's WCW, just know that you guys, it's because of you guys. It's because of the fans.
So that's funny as fuck. Thank you guys for tuning in, and see you guys next time.